Ecuador is a country that has been kidnapped by the mafias. The man who uttered these words is now underground, serving as a stern warning to those who dare speak about it. Fernando Villavicencio, a presidential candidate from the Construye, or Build Up movement, was assassinated by sicarios on Wednesday, August 9th, as he was leaving a political rally at the Ministerios Plenitud Coliseum, the former Javeriano High School. 9 other people were injured in the attack, including 2 policemen, one of whom eventually died at the hospital. The candidate's enemies list was long as a result of his years of work denouncing corruption across 3 administrations of different political spectrums. A police assessment of the risk of an attack was as high as 97%. Yet at the moment of truth, it will appear that security, either willingly or not, handed him over to a well-organized band of sicarios, as we will see by the end of this special report. This statement is not confirmed as true, as it hasn't been verified. It is just a mere hypothesis based on the available evidence. Currently, an investigation is being conducted by the FBI in collaboration with Ecuadorian and Colombian police.
Listen, well, they told me to use a bulletproof vest. But damn it, here I am, wearing nothing but a sweaty shirt. You are my bulletproof vest. Let the narco bosses come. Let the sicarios come to me. They say they are going to break me. They may drop me, but never break me.
The killing occurred 11 days before a presidential election, in which, according to a poll by Comunicaliza, Villavicencio was 4th in the presidential race, and within striking distance, only 3 points behind second place. However, due to the political polarization surrounding and directed against Rafael Correa, Villavicencio felt he had a real chance of winning the presidency if he made it to the second round. Fernando Villavicencio was making a push, ramping up accusations of corruption and defying fear and death threats by the mafias, and even by former fellow congressmen. On August 10th, the country awoke to the shocking realization that this was all real. All celebrations activities were suspended, and martial law had been declared for 60 days. For the first time in Ecuador's history, a presidential candidate had been assassinated.
We are a country that has been kidnapped by the mafias, the cocaine mafia, the illegal mining mafia, and the corruption mafia.
Fernando Villavicencio, a former journalist, was the most recent president of the Commission of Fiscalization and Political Control of the National Assembly, before it was disbanded by Guillermo Lasso, that is. As the highest authority of such a commission, he was at the center of the fight against corruption. Over the last few years, Ecuador has been experiencing a national emergency of insecurity and corruption, and Villavicencio had consistently advocated for implementing a strong hand against corruption and criminal gangs. His political profile was on the rise.
The first action I'll take as president, just hours after obtaining office, would be to attack the criminal bands. So far, the police reacts, but with intelligence, we will go after them and disarm the violence. What would be your second action? My second action would be to subdue the criminal bands inside our jails. Police, come grab him. Let us see his face. We need to record his face. He needs to be interrogated. Don't hurt him. He needs to confess.
It was reported that the shooter was injured by the police and died moments later inside the Crimes Investigation Unit. which raised a number of questions. According to the law, the police were supposed to take the injured shooter to a hospital, but that did not happen. Apparently, there are witnesses on record stating that sicarios killed the gunman inside that flagrancy unit. We were not able to verify this claim. Eventually, the police raided 3 homes believed to be safe houses for criminal gangs, arrested 6 Colombian men, and presented heavy weapons, drugs, and money as evidence. Later that day, Caracol News from Colombia reported that Ecuadorian politicians have been in contact with some of the men through their cell phones. This information has not been confirmed or denied by the Ecuadorian police and remains a secret as the investigation continues. We spoke to a supporter of the Construye movement who lives very close to where it happened.
Vi cuando le subieron como yo salí de inmediato, vi como le subieron
I immediately got out and saw that a body was taken inside the Clínica de la Mujer, or the women's clinic. I got like 2 meters away from him and clearly saw that his head was smashed by the bullets. I didn't know who he was. It ended up being Fernando Villavicencio. They took him to the ER. We heard a big explosion. Boom! It was the detonation of a grenade. It was right there where it says Araujo Papeleria. Right there. They detonated a grenade. The sound wave shocked everyone in the neighborhood.
Entonces, justo fue aquí al frente, miren, donde están todas las ofrendas florales y exactamente fue donde lo abatieron, ¿no?
So the murder happened right here, where you can see the floral offerings. The truck was parked right here. And this is the place they were exiting from, that you can see in the now famous video of the killing. And this was a high school gym, the former Javionero High School. This is where it happened.
Aquí fue el lugar en donde pasó todo. Él salió este tramo pequeño, subió estas gradas de aquí.
He walked this short distance, climbed those short stairs, exited, and the bodyguards made him enter the truck parked here, and they gunned him down and killed him there.
Y aquí le abatieron. Aquí le pegaron los tiros, mira aquí. Se ve la señal de una bala.
Look here, you can see a bullet hole. You can clearly see it here, and also in that door. I don't know if I can zoom enough.
Tengo zoom aquí, no creo que tengo. Sí tengo zoom. Ahí podemos ver otra bala.
Oh yes, I can zoom there. We can see another bullet there. They hit the truck from both sides. I shot a video. They shot all over the truck. There were many more shots in the back, but also shots in the front. I assume the driver was there. I'm not sure of that though.
Estaba el conductor ahí, no estoy seguro de eso.
Upon examining the evidence and information available, many aspects immediately come to mind. Fernando Villavicencio was assassinated mere hours after he publicly stated on live television that the police possessed knowledge about criminal groups but failed to take action, partially due to potential corruption within the institution's higher ranks. Patricia Villavicencio, the candidate's sister, discussed critical observations on the show Notimundo Estelar.
It is publicly and even internationally known the kind of threat my brother was under. We are talking about a 97% probability of being attacked. This was the police's own statement. Yet, Fernando didn't have the protection needed for such a case. He didn't even have a bulletproof car. That was just a truck with no armor whatsoever. Fernando didn't have the personnel or even the security protocol required for such a threat.
If we take a look at the way Fernando Villavicencio, with a 90% risk of attack, left the building, some serious questions arise. First, he leaves the building through the front door to a crowded street, full of cars and possible threats. Second, the truck. It was widely reported that candidate had a bulletproof vehicle he regularly rode, and that the precise day the vehicle was used by him in the morning in Guayaquil. Villavicencio then flew to Quito and the vehicle remained in Guayaquil as it was reported. But that information proved to be wrong when the next day Cesar Gonzaga, the armored truck driver, completely threw a wrench in that report.
Lo dejé en el aeropuerto de Guayaquil en la mañana, media mañana. Lo dejé, me despedí de él y quedamos a encontrarnos en Quito. Yo emprendí el viaje vía terrestre.
I dropped him off at the Guayaquil airport and said bye to him. We were supposed to meet in Quito later, so I began driving the bulletproof car we got for our presidential campaign to Quito. Unfortunately, I got there 2 minutes too late.
Yo llego al sitio, al coliseo, al lugar del meeting. Llegó justo 2 minutos después de lo que había sucedido.
César, si usted en ese momento era el encargado de
Cesar, if you were in charge of bringing his armored truck to the candidate, what could have gone wrong with the security protocol? I called a security detail member saying that I was close, real close to the place. I was going to go to the back exit as planned, but the killing happened in the front exit. It took me a minute to reach the front exit, and by then it had already happened.
It must be determined who in the security detail knew that the armored truck was about to arrive at the back door, and decided that instead of waiting, they should go through the front door to a crowded street. Villavicencio's friend and close ally, Ana Galarza, describes to the video blog Keiniki some important details about the candidate's security.
En la cápsula de seguridad, desde luego que hubo fallas. A ver, Fernando, desde hace algún tiempo atrás, él tenía
Security failed. Fernando had for some time now a security detail that loved him and was truly committed to protect him. But some weeks ago, he received some serious death threats, like literally, we are going to kill you. And because of these threats, they doubled the security group with brand new agents joining the group. Yet somehow, at the time of the shooting, these new cops were all comfortably sitting inside a police car, parked just ahead of the truck where Fernando was shot in the head. They loaded him on a truck that had no armor. The left flank from where they shot him was completely unguarded, and on that subject, a guard was supposed to get in the car before Fernando, and another guard right after. He is supposed to be like a sandwich, surrounded by 2 police agents. But no police agent got in the car, neither from the left, the side he got shot from, or the right. So I do believe he was betrayed.
Nadie al lado desde donde le disparan. Entonces a él yo sí creo que le entregaron.
We consulted Jesse Murrieta, an expert in security and high-risk target protection from Tucson, Arizona. After watching the video of the murder, Murrieta was shocked with how sloppy the security operation surrounding Villavicencio was.
It was chaos. I mean, there was like no organization whatsoever. Like I said, whether I was leading the detail or not, or was just part of the backbone of the team itself. We pre-planned everything, man. Like I said earlier, it's contingency plan for contingency plan for contingency plan. And you know what? Another contingency plan. Advanced work could be a month ahead, a week ahead, could be the night before, even it's hours before. We have patterns that we use, if you will. We have formations that we use. I saw none. Like everything seemed like they were just doing everything on the go, everything on the fly.
Basically, they got him into that truck, which was not armor-proof. And the
Jesus.
shots, like I have a picture of the truck, and the shot, like if you look at the window, it's not like it exploded, but the shots in the window are really small, which I don't know a lot about this, but if you ask me, that would mean that he got close to the window.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. Yes. Yes. 100% on that one. There's no doubt. So he was literally, the assassin, the attacker was literally within the crowd, obviously. Just when I saw them walking out there, I'm like, that's chaotic. It's like I stated earlier, that's the one thing I've always hated about working with, especially celebrity types or VIP types, is dealing with that kind of crowd. So you're already dealing with that kind of chaotic situation where once again, you go out the back. Going out Like, I don't know why they did it, what possessed them to do it, or whatever have you not, why that decision was made. Out the back, you have control back there. In the front, you don't.
If you compare the strategic situation in both exits, the question why they went to the front exit seems more and more important. Assessing the back exit, we can clearly see how it can be much easier to control. Not to mention that there is a garage entrance, which will allow for the candidate to properly board the card inside the facility or even wait for the nearing bulletproof truck to arrive. When we look at the video of the murder, initially we noticed that after hearing the shots, one of the guards closed the door, which seems totally counterintuitive when it comes down to protecting Villavicencio. But then things took a turn for the worse. Upon zooming in and looking frame by frame, it is pretty evident that a shot came from the right door, as it was being closed. We see it here, frame by frame. It is also clear that the direction of the bullet as it pierced the window is coming from the right side, towards the left, right where the candidate's security agents are. The agent then closes the door. We obtain a number of pictures and video of the truck on which the candidate was killed, and you can clearly appreciate that there are shots fired from both sides. We can also clearly see the hole made by the shot we earlier detected, frame by frame, clearly coming from the right side. Somehow, between Villavicencio's own escorts. Another question lingering is the way that the alleged assassin died, moments after being shot by the police. It is unclear if the man we see in this video is the main shooter or an accomplice. The fact that the injured gunman was not taken to a hospital as commanded by the law and died at the flagrancy unit poses very serious questions. Especially because somehow the police got enough information to raid 3 safe houses and arrest a whole criminal band just a few hours later, with evidence that includes phones which, according to the Colombian police, had been used to talk to politicians. This claim will normally pose a number of questions. What kind of politician will talk to a sicario from his own cell phone, with no middleman? But then again, this is Ecuador, and we have a recent case where a candidate was arrested with weapons and a bulletproof vest, who instead of calling a lawyer, called alias Fito from the Choneros and tried to get the police agent on the phone to talk to the gangster. The possibilities seem to range from the gunman talking before dying to more gunmen being detained, as it was claimed at some point. But this has not been verified, and we have only video of the suspect in the white t-shirt being detained. Could it be possible that Villavicencio was right all along about the police knowing the location of the sicarios' safe houses? In a study released just 2 months ago on July 2023, Ecuador's police stated that Ecuador serves as a base of operation for 3 international drug cartels: the Sinaloa Cartel, the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, and the Balkan Mafia. This has become evident over the last few years through evidence including the Chapo Guzman trials, jail massacres, several judicial cases, and a number of assassinations of rival gangsters fighting for control. Just 2 weeks ago, several provinces and areas of the country were placed under a state of exception, akin to martial law, after Agustín Intriago Quijano, the mayor of the city of Manta, was murdered.
Nuestra patria es la mayor víctima de las operaciones criminales, de las mayores mafias, de narco.
Ecuador is but a victim of the world's largest international drug cartels, but those cartels didn't originate here in the small town of Chon or in Esmeraldas province. Those are Mexican cartels. Those cartels are the Sinaloa Cartel, the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, and the Balkan Mafia. We are in a transit country. We don't plant 98% of the world's coca leaf. That happens in Colombia.
It seems evident that in many cases criminal bands have infiltrated or even subdued the authorities, either through bribes or threats. Take the example of the crisis in the penitentiaries. Several massacres involving rival cartels and collateral victims have occurred in many of the jails around the country. Despite sending the army to control the situation, riots and massacres continue to happen. Take the example of the crisis in the penitentiaries. Several massacres involving rival cartels and collateral victims have occurred in many of the jails around the country. Despite sending the army to control the situation, riots and massacres continue to happen. In fact, on August 4th in Guayaquil, stashes of drugs, money, and heavy weapons, including bombs and grenades, were discovered hidden in the administrative office responsible for all jails. In total, 2 directors of local jails, 5 administrative workers, and 2 jail guards were arrested in connection with the case. According to the police report, the third international criminal structure operating in Ecuador is the Balkan Mafia, or Albanian Mafia as it is known in Ecuador. Just recently, Fernando Villavicencio, as head of the parliamentary commission that controls corruption, issued a report that showed connections between the Balkan Mafia and Ruben Cherres, a close associate of Danilo Carrera, mentor of President Guillermo Lasso. Cherres was eventually murdered. This case played a significant role in the downfall of President Guillermo Lasso and marked a split between Lasso and Villavicencio. Anderson Boscan, a former Lasso ally and the man who broke the news that Villavicencio then followed up with lawsuits, had to leave the country due to death threats.
Our justice system has been taken over by the mafias, so we must purge the mafias from our justice system. And the only way to do that is calling out those criminal judges. I personally know 35 judges who have mansions, luxury properties, and high-end vehicles, and no regular judge making $4,000 a month can afford that.
Villavicencio even proposed a law to seize properties from any public servant who cannot legally justify ownership of them. Another institution heavily criticized by Villavicencio was the National Police.
The police know. The police intelligence knows where the criminals' safe houses are, where the narcos are. They know illegal mining locations, white-collar criminals. The police know where the sicarios are. As an example, in the case of the father killed in front of her daughter, in just a matter of hours, the police apprehended the person responsible for the killing. The police do know. If they know, why don't they act? Who's telling them not to? Because there is a weak leadership. There is no leadership in the police, because there are connections between the police and these criminal structures. If we want to give a mortal wound to organized crime, we need to clean up the public forces.
Fernando Villavicencio declared publicly that he had been directly threatened by alias Fito, the leader of the Choneros gang, an important ally of the Sinaloa cartel. It was kind of to be expected after the candidate stated he will implement not only extradition treaties but also security partnerships. He also vowed to militarize the ports, airports, and land border crossings.
A militant movement called Good People was visited in Manabí province by several envoys of Elias Fito to tell them if I keep mentioning Chonero gang and Elias Fito's name, they were going to kill me.
Alias Fito is considered to be the operative arm of the Sinaloa cartel in Ecuador. He is currently serving a 35-year sentence, yet despite that, it is believed that he continues to run the operation of his criminal gang from inside his jail cell. He holds enormous power in Ecuador. Just weeks before, alias Fito had broadcast a message calling for a truce in the war between cartels in Ecuador. If alias Fito did, in fact, threaten Villavicencio to silence him, the result of his death was completely opposite. International newspapers and broadcasting stations are informing the world about the death threats he issued against Villavicencio. And now the Sinaloa cartel is at the top of the short list of suspected parties. Subsequently, alias Fito was finally transferred to a maximum security cell within a high-security prison. Taking a page from Nayib Bukele's playbook, Villavicencio announced plans to construct a maximum security prison in the middle of the jungle and to adopt a hardline approach against the gangs, similar to the concept applied by the Salvadorian president against the maras, with extradition and a transnational view of fighting crime in the form of alliances with the United States, United Kingdom, and the European powers. The candidate was indeed a major threat to the underground powers.
Vamos a construir, y aquí está Lenin, con pruebas en la mano, aquí está la cárcel de alta seguridad que
We are going to build. Take a look at Lenin. These are the blueprints to a maximum security jail I will build in the middle of the jungle, in the province of Zamora, where we currently have a small military base. We will make it a supermax prison, where we will incarcerate the capos of the criminal bands, the sicarios, the kidnappers, the extortionists. They will be completely isolated with the helicopters as the only way in. As far as the low-risk prisoners, the Ecuadorian state will not finance crime anymore. They will have to work to earn their food in mechanic shops, factories, farms, and provinces, with which we will sign agreements.
Trabajando en mecánicas, talleres, granjas agrícolas y acuerdos que haremos con los gobiernos autónomos de
The reason why criminal groups, irrespective of their affiliations, will perceive Villavicencio as a significant threat seemed quite evident. However, up to this point, no organization has claimed responsibility for the murder in a credible manner. The knee-jerk reaction was to implicate the Correísta movement. After all, on April 4, 2023, Villavicencio filed a formal complaint for investigation, accusing 5 fellow congressmen of conspiring to assassinate him. Pablo Muentes from the right-wing Social Christian Party, Ronnie Aliaga, Roberto Cuero, Ronald Gonzalez, and Walter Gomez from Citizens Revolution were all mentioned in the lawsuit. Just a year prior, on September 3rd, Villavicencio logged a complaint at the prosecutor's office reporting shots fired outside his home in an attempt to intimidate him. This occurred after he claimed that certain candidates were aligned with criminal organizations. Villavicencio's life and career were shaped by his work as a journalist, investigating corruption under Rafael Correa's government. However, his sources of financing during this period have previously raised questions about potential conflicts of interest. In 2018, striking coincidences emerged from National Endowment for Democracy's documents, showing that it is possible that Villavicencio's news agency, La Fuente, received a $65,000 grant from the National Endowment for Democracy, a congressional and private lobby, widely considered an arm of U.S. government's foreign policy. This allegedly occurred in 2017, the final year of Correa's presidency, but could not be verified. Yet you can clearly see the coincidences of the grant information and La Clave Zone about us information at the time. Another question for many was whether Villavicencio was working with or for Maria Paula Romo, the leader of the Construye movement. Romo is a highly controversial figure who maintains a low profile and is widely perceived as responsible for unnecessary bloodshed. She faced censorship by the Assembly during an indigenous strike in 2018 under Lenin Moreno. Additionally, Romo was accused of trading hospitals for votes within the National Assembly. In 2018, Villavicencio co-authored an article for The Guardian, alongside Luke Harding and Dan Collins, two known reporters with pro-Russiagate tendencies, accusing Julian Assange of meeting with Paul Manafort. This claim was quickly debunked and swiftly retracted when WikiLeaks threatened to sue, and major news outlets demanded to see the evidence. In Ecuador, the candidate's unbiased objectivity had been questioned previously by fellow journalists. This was due to the perception that, as a politician, he had a conflict of interest when investigating his rivals. Yet, despite all of this, within Ecuador, Villavicencio's image as the primary opposition to the Correa administration was solidified ever since 2013, when his home was raided. This incident led to the now deceased candidate going into hiding and even exile for 4 years. Villavicencio returned in September 2017, and from that moment on became a thorn on the former president's side, directly leading to his eventual exit and political asylum in Belgium. We had a conversation with Mario Ramos, director of the Andean Center for Strategic Resources.
Para llevar a cabo una forma de gobierno, ¿sí? Implementar un modelo neoliberal que de otra forma no fuera posible, tal vez.
The play is to implement a violent way of governing, to implement neoliberalism, something that otherwise it would not be possible, because Ecuadorian people have many times proven they are a fighting people. And it is in that context that this assassination takes place. What it seeks is to convulse the country more and affects the elections, and who gets to win and who gets to lose. To me, the one who stands to lose out of this is the Citizens Revolution candidate, Luisa Gonzalez, because immediately a social media campaign started saying that the Correísmo killed Villavicencio.
On that last point, Ramos may be correct. The polls show that Luisa Gonzalez from Citizens Revolution lost around 6 points after the killing and the subsequent debate.
Cherez, President Lasso's brother-in-law's best friend and business partner, was also murdered some time back. What has happened in that case? Nothing. They silenced him because he was heavily involved with the Balkan Mafia.
Villavicencio's adversaries might not be solely confined to Correa's camp. As we previously mentioned, the release of the report incriminating Danilo Carrera dealt a direct blow from Villavicencio to the Lasso administration. Initially an ally of Lasso, Villavicencio eventually launched a second front against the government, accusing the Lasso administration of striking a deal with the Correísta movement. This alleged deal involved trading votes to prevent Lasso's impeachment in exchange for the Lasso government permitting María de los Ángeles Duarte, a former Correa minister with a jail sentence, to flee the country. However, there was more to come. Just 5 days prior to his murder during Carlos Vera's show, a nationwide broadcast, Villavicencio declared that if he were to win, he will compel oil, internet, and telephone companies to renegotiate their contracts. He also asserted that an imminent termination of the relationship between oil brokers and the Ecuadorian state will occur.
The country needs to know that 70% of our oil is taken by these oil companies, and only the 30% that's left goes to the government's fiscal accounts.
And so on Tuesday, August 8th, just 2 days before his murder, the candidate presented an official lawsuit dealing with corruption in oil contracts spanning the Correa, Moreno, and Lasso administrations to the General Attorney's Office. These initiatives had the potential to impact numerous specific oil brokers, involving billions of dollars and affecting political figures from all sides. Villavicencio had garnered adversaries from both the left and the right.
To all the mobsters in PetroChina and their broker friends, no more. You will be gone in my government. They have robbed more than 5,000 million a year.
Additionally, he had earned the ire of some powerful enemies, including police generals, who had faced corruption accusations by the candidate.
If we want to assess a lethal blow to organized crime, we must clean up our law enforcement agencies.
All of this gives rise to several important questions around both the actions and lack thereof by the national police. Following the murder, several sources close to Colombian police like Radio Caracol and retired Colombian Police General Jorge Luis Vargas, who was also former security advisor of President Guillermo Lasso, disclosed that an Ecuadorian politician had talked to the sicarios, without giving a name.
Luis Alberto Fernández Piedra.
On Friday, August 18, Luis Fernandez, an attorney representing the Villavicencio family, announced a lawsuit against the Lasso administration, including President Guillermo Lasso. As we await for the results of the official investigation, one can only wonder a number of questions. The answer to these questions could alter the course of Republican history, maybe as much as the murder of Fernando Villavicencio did.